advised, or anything that you can say to the stakeholders who are holding back or resistive?
Sure. So, yeah, the way you frame the question, Kayleen, is great, actually, because you're in an industry that is cracking the back of some of the toughest questions and problems, and you're doing it because you're trying to bring benefit to a patient, right? So it's a very high innovation. You talk to anybody in life sciences, they're passionate about why they work here, but scientists in certain domains, in certain areas, can also arrive with a conservatism because they've also been trained about research methods and documentation methods and a variety of ways of working. And it's a regulated industry. And so oftentimes people in a regulated industry tend to kind of freeze in a certain model way of working because they know it's okay. And it's been validated by 40 other companies and different agency interactions. So when you take those things, you have high innovation and you have some people that are really looking in and really trying to kind of crack the back, but you also have some things that really kind of create some lock-in to different ways of working, thinking, and doing things. Now, what's interesting is if you kind of look at, say, if I go to some of the leading academic medical centers, and if I was in Memorial Sloan Kettering at Stanford or in the other areas, you would actually find their use and embracing and acceptance that AI is going to be a part of the way that their world works very high. Again, I made a reference that Memorial Sloan Kettering will develop their own AI and radiomics models for aiding doing clinical interpretation, their own institution for their own patient. This is one of the leading cancer centers conducting more clinical trials, probably seeing more patients per year than almost any other single center in the world, and one of the hardest set of diseases with one of the highest rate of publication activities. And there's a deep embracing of the value it can bring, the insights, the consistency, the support of quality, not missing features and kind of different characteristics. So I say that and I look at that because when your people are doing the things that are most critical, most actually time acute, and most outcome centric, are actually embracing it almost more than any other part of kind of healthcare and life sciences. And so to a certain degree, again, when you go into an industry that's that regulated and has people with that kind of training that sometimes develops a conservatism, already you're finding some that are leading and moving themselves where they're integrating this as part of the way they're working. So it's a by organizational culture thing today. And the thing I would say confidently is there's nothing irresponsible about introducing this into in fact, it is only responsible to actually make sure you're developing the competence and the expertise. And the responsibility is really where is it still what you're going to call experiments versus where is it starting to inform and change what your actual operating model is, ways of working, roles of the organization, maybe even organizational structure, because it does impact workflows substantially. And I think, we're seeing the leaders emerging in that particular field, and maybe at another time we kind of get some of those leaders to work with you and come on here for, session number 2 or something of that nature as you're kind of going into that, 3, 4. But I think as you're kind of doing that, and you've always had people that are kind of in the middle, waiting for the leaders to see that they survive the transition, and some others that will kind of, pick up in the rear end. But I think right now, I'm actually more seeing, more utility. We have people now that are, in fact, we're involved in a couple of projects today where actually we're finding patients using AI on sort of past data where the current standard of care would never have them use next generation sequencing until much later, but I can use existing data in AI and find ones that have a 0.85 or 85% likelihood of having that particular feature and kind of capability. We have another company that actually has an AI model that's being validated prospectively coincident with the way the clinical trial is being run. So when the actual medicine, assuming it gets approved and kind of goes through it, there'll actually be algorithmic approaches to identifying the patients most likely to be a responder that actually be developed actually as an AI model. So you're finding all sorts of cases here saying these are evolving pretty far, pretty deeply, and really indicating that there's going to be a pretty major transformation in how things work. And again, for me, I look at these examples, all goodness, and it's actually bringing tremendous benefit. So.
Well, that makes me feel so optimistic about our future and the future of life sciences.
I only want you to leave our conversation that way.